Clutter. I cannot stand it. Making the organization of my coffee area the highest priority made sense. Hello everyone, I'm Clara Kim, and this is episode 2 of my commentary series. A series where I take you into the thoughts and techniques behind the woodworking pieces I make. Let's go! There are already a lot of things on the table. A grinder, a kettle, a Keurig machine, a surge protector, a USB cord for phones or tablets, and a wireless charging dock. And with all these machines came a whole lot of wires. Coffee brings me happiness. Not just drinking coffee, but the experience of making it too. Making coffee in this madness though? Unacceptable. My answer to the chaos was this cable box. When I started researching designs, function was my #1 priority. I didn't want to build something to simply hide the chaos. I wanted to tame it. After looking through many different styles, I found nothing that had everything I wanted. For example, in this box, I love the fact that it has a front window, but I didn't like the windows on the side. Instead of a simple window, it was a complete cutout. In this box, I love the way that how they had the side windows, but I didn't want it to lose the front window. My goal was not only the containment of cables, but to harness the flow of the station. And to the drawing board I went. The shape that appealed the most to me was a simple rectangle. I felt no need to be complicated because its purpose was not to be a centerpiece, but an effective and beautiful accent. To create flow, I decided to group light cables to specific windows. A square window on the left only for the surge protector, a round window to the right for the USB cables, grouping phones and tablets to the side, and in the middle, a large rectangular window for the thicker cables coming from the coffee equipment. This will position all the equipment in front of the box, but the long rectangular window will create enough space for the box to peek through, making an effective accent. On the top, I also decided to create a small ledge so it could be used as a second resting space for phones and tablets. This way, regardless of the device, they can all stay off of the table, keeping it even more clutter-free and away from possible spills. With these concepts in mind, I got to work. I chose walnut for this project. All of the coffee equipment has either stainless steel or matte black colors. Walnut, in my eyes, is a perfect wood tone to go with that. My first step was to create the face size I needed. To do that, I took this piece of walnut, resawed it down the middle to make 2 pieces, laid them side by side in a book matching style, and then glued them together. If you notice the crazy amount of sawdust, you have a good eye. At this time, I hadn't set up a dust collection system yet, so I was frequently dancing around trying not to inhale everything. On top of this, from time to time, my face would get extremely red, and that's because I also hadn't set up air conditioning yet either. I think that should be enough to prove just how important organizing this coffee station was for me. 100-degree garage, sawdust for oxygen, bring it on! After the glue dried, I planed the piece down to its final thickness, sanded it, filled in all the knots with some CA glue, and sanded it again. Now that I had a beautifully flat and smooth piece to work with, my next step was to start creating the 4 sides of the box. And this is when I made a big mistake. 2 of the sides were cut too short. I didn't even notice it at first. I was moving all my pieces around, and when I picked one up, my instinct kicked in and I thought, this seems really short. I measured it and found out that I was off by an inch. Not an eighth, not a quarter,
an inch.
I was, of course, really annoyed by this. But the thing was, I didn't have the materials to start over again. I measured it one more time and it turned out the inside dimensions were just big enough for the surge protector to fit inside of it. So I decided to just go for it. At this point, I had all 4 sides, front, back, left, and right, And my next step was to create the top and bottom pieces. To do this, I made dado cuts on the top and bottom of all the side pieces to act as slots. That way, when I fold everything together, all the pieces should be snug and secure. Then, I started to create the windows. I created guides using scrap pieces and carved out the shapes with a handheld router with a bushing guide. After cleaning up all the edges and corners, I glued everything together. Whenever I do glue-ups for any kind of shape with corners, I love using the tape method. The tape keeps everything in place, and the moment where all the pieces fold up into its final position is probably one of the most satisfying feelings in the world to me. Once the glue dried, I ripped off the tape like a Christmas present and started doing some cleanup and sanding. Right now, we have a hollow and fully enclosed box. To turn it into two pieces, a bottom and a top lid, my plan is to give it a really good sand, cut straight through it, and then make some modifications to the top for a snug fit. The reason for sanding it before cutting is because one of my goals was for the box to look as seamless as possible. If I worked on the sanding after cutting, there's a chance for some slight mismatches. And as another added bonus, the reason why I was able to cut the box in one movement is because I messed up my measurement earlier. Had the box been an inch wider as I'd intended, I would have needed to flip it around after the first cut. It just comes to show that there's always a silver lining somewhere. To create the snug fit, I created an inner wall inside the lid. It was crucial for these pieces to be snug, so I triple-checked everything. And it all came together smoothly. After one final light sanding, I finished it off with 3 coats of wipe-on polyurethane, and that's that. As cool as it is pretty small. If my hands were a little bit bigger, I would have definitely remade this. Luckily though, because it keeps everything organized, I never really have to dig back in there. The window keeps all the cords comfortably out of the sight, and the flow of the table is easy to understand. Regardless of my mistake, I still love the end result. And with that, I will leave you with one very important lesson. Always measure twice.